Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Transformation podcasts. Today's episode will be centered around AI adoption and the future of work. We are going to explore how leaders can transform, innovate, and amplify their impact with today's guest, Nikki Barua, serial entrepreneur, keynote speaker, author of Beyond Barriers, and globally recognized expert on transformation. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Nikki, in your 25-year career in the digital space, you've helped top brands transform their culture and capabilities, and you now have a quest to help business leaders reinvent the way they lead and succeed in the AI age, which I think is a vast question. There's currently a clear need for me to shift from chaotic AI adoption, let's do something with AI, I don't know what, let's just automate this, automate that, to more focused, fast-paced sort of organizational learning cycles. I know that you've been focusing on this both in your business and with your clients. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and your journey with that?
Yeah. Um, Change is one of those elements in business that every company has to navigate, and that's what leaders are really in the business of doing,
Mm,
is navigating uncertainty and change. The difference, though, with AI is that the speed and scale of that transformation is unnatural for human beings to
mm,
adapt.
totally.
And we're talking about, a situation where AI is changing work faster than people can change how they work.
Mm,
So it becomes a very unique situation, which is unlike previous disruptions. This is the greatest disruption in modern human history. And most companies and most leaders are not equipped to figure out how to navigate through that.
mm,
So it becomes not just about technology adoption and transforming the workplace for AI, really becomes about how do you help human beings make
mm,
that shift? How do you sort of let go of what our evolutionary design is, of the pace of adaptation to actually co-evolve with AI as we lean into this new reality in every workplace and every business. And that's really what I'm focused on helping companies and organizations adapt to.
mm. And if I look at, AI is reshaping jobs, roles, but even sort of, and even more so value creation models. How would you advise leaders to carve out that clarity when the whole code of work is changing all the time?
Indeed, that's the challenge that so many executives are facing right now, that their boards are asking them
Mm,
questions like, hey, how are we applying AI in the business? We need to do something with AI. That's usually
mm,
the
mm,
direction is
mm,
we gotta do something with AI without clarity on what are you exactly doing with AI. At the same time, there's pressure from the grassroots where employees are excited about AI and they want to leverage AI, but they're not getting clarity and direction on what the guardrails are.
mm,
What is the right tech stack? What is the
mm,
context in which you use AI? What's okay and what's not okay? They're not getting clear direction from their leadership about that. And the reason for all of this is because the leaders themselves don't quite know what to do. Everything
mm,
is happening so fast. So often their heads are spinning because by the time they kind of get clear about one piece of AI, something else changes. And
mm,
so they're not entirely sure, exactly where to focus, what sort of policies to put in place, and what kind of resources to provide their employees to be able to make this shift.
mm,
And the simple way to think about it that I guide executives on is don't lose sight of the business fundamentals.
mm,
AI is, at the end of the day, a technology that can create leverage and massively power your business and give you a competitive advantage. But
mm,
don't lose sight of the business fundamentals. Focus on what is the biggest business objective right now and identify the specific use cases and explore how AI can give you leverage and give you an advantage in that. Don't just invest in buying licenses and
mm,
throwing
mm.
more technology in the company without clarity on exactly what it's going to be used for. And I think that's really the shiny object syndrome that unfortunately is impacting a lot of companies where, they're buying the tech, but they
Yeah.
don't know what to do with the tech.
Yeah. I mean, I like the shiny object syndrome. It gets shinier every day, doesn't it, AI?
It
Because
does.
today's
Yeah.
AI is the worst AI we're ever going to use because it's just constantly being adapted and it's evolving. And so this business strategic clarity isn't going to come from AI, is it? So
It's not.
if I
But
have a one-off AI project, how do I make sure over and above the checklist of does it fit into the strategic objective that I am creating the conditions, Nikki, for whichever part of AI I'm onboarding and for whatever reason, for it to actually create sustainable transformation.
absolutely. I think that's really the key is clear definition.
Mm,
But there are certain fundamentals that are different from the way we have approached technology adoption in the past. For one thing, you have to iterate continuously. This is
mm,
not an episodic transformation. So if
no.
you thought, oh, we can do it like we did mobile adoption, or cloud adoption, that it's
Mm,
episodic, there's a start and end date to the project, that cannot happen with AI. It has to be continuous. Instead of episodic. The other piece is you have to iterate in rapid cycles.
mm,
Don't take on a 24-month AI transformation project because by the time you get done, so much would have changed that the impact is lost.
very good.
So we recommend doing things in 90-day cycles. Do it like a sprint.
Mm,
And then within that sprint, identify specific use cases that create the highest ROI
mm,
because it's partly demonstrating to the organization and everyone in it the value of AI.
mm,
What I've seen is certain examples where people, large companies, have allocated a 100-person team on this AI innovation project, given them a budget and lots of tools,
mm,
and said, go have fun with AI. Well, the result of that is completely vague application that is superficial, not transformative. And it actually erodes trust because
yeah.
now the senior executives start looking at that and said, oh, we just wasted millions of dollars and got nothing out of it. Maybe this AI thing is not what it's supposed to be. That makes it sound like a bubble and a
Mm,
fad that's going to go away. Well, it's not. So the right application of identifying exactly what kind of use cases you can, apply it to that connect with your biggest business objective, do it in
mm,
90-day cycles and keep doing it over and over again. What you're really doing is building muscle
yeah.
around
Yeah.
it. And you're
Mm,
getting the reps so that the knowledge and the confidence of your people increases with it. Because one
mm,
of the biggest differences of AI compared to other technologies is historically, when there's a new technology, we have to learn it. We
mm,
have to learn the internet or mobile or cloud.
mm,
Any of the new tech or software that come out, we have to learn it. With AI, we have to teach it. So that means you have to have a perspective on exactly what you're going to teach it. And the more you teach it, the more it learns and the more valuable it becomes.
and I love that distinction, which I hadn't formalized like that, but it's so useful because if I come back to the sort of organizational learning cycles, the idea of
Yeah.
a learning culture,
Yeah.
it's counterintuitive to have to teach it as opposed to
Mhm.
learn it. So, how do organizations create cultures of trust in AI or where AI empowers people because that's a whole different ball game, isn't it? And even
Mhm.
if I manage it in an iterative cycle of 90 days times three, it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take root in the culture, or does it?
I think it depends on how you deploy it, and that's
Mm,
a big part of the distinction that we've seen of where it has taken root and actually
mm,
value versus where it's ended up being a superficial application. Start with the people, not with the
mm,
technology. You have to start with the people because the greatest impact of AI is it's forcing deep change within human beings.
mm,
We are being threatened in ways that are deeply evolutionary.
mm.
Human beings are wired to seek certainty and safety and comfort.
We have
That's
none
just
of
our
that.
evolutionary design.
Yeah.
But if we continue to seek safety, certainty, and comfort in the AI age, we will get left behind and we will fail. That's the
Mm,
recipe for failure.
mm,
But how do you get people to be the exact opposite? How do you see, get comfortable being uncomfortable? How are you embracing risk? How are you sort of navigating through uncertainty? That identity shift and the behavioral and mindset shift needs to come first. And when companies start with that,
Mm,
really identifying who do you need to be as you coexist with AI? What is your zone of genius that needs to stay? And what are the parts of you you need to shed and let AI be your coworker in that?
mm,
When companies help employees kind of make that shift
mm,
and start with that personal transformation first, and then they work with teams of really, now that you're rewired as a person, let's
mm,
bring teams together and let's think about how you can identify doing your work differently. What
mm,
parts of your workflows need to be eliminated, automated, or AI enabled? Start looking at every function from that, basic workflow and process standpoint. And when teams reimagine the work itself, then add in the technology. So AI really becomes the last piece of it. Now you've reinvented the people, you've reinvented the process, and now reinvent the tools and bring in AI as, the last leg of
mm,
the journey that adds value. And when you do it that way, and you do it in 90-day cycles, it's not just transformation that sticks, it actually lasts longer.
mm,
And that's the difference that I've seen with companies.
mm. And the upfront piece takes a long time, doesn't it? Because it's such a massive mindset shift, but also a paradigm shift in terms of leadership. And just to come back to personal transformation, Nikki, your story for me is one of bold reinvention, corporate executive to entrepreneur to transformation coach. What barriers did you personally have to go beyond that reshaped your philosophy of leadership? Because going from corporate all the
Yeah.
way up to what you do today, for me, is just a marathon of paradigm shifts.
Um, I think it's what really helped me through every stage of reinvention is really guided by my core values
Mm,
of humility, of uh, instead of being a know-it-all,
mm,
being someone who's always learning, and
mm,
uh, curiosity of being deeply curious about what's next, what problems to solve,
mm,
where I can take what I am good at and apply it to the next thing. And courage, because in the courage is in the absence of fear. It's having faith that you can figure it out. And for me, that's been the formula for not only continuously growing, but always reinventing in a way that your relevance actually increases and your impact becomes greater. Because that's, at the end of the day, for every leader's journey, is not about the expertise you hold, but the impact you keep creating. But in
mm,
order to keep creating impact, you have to reinvent as well.
mm,
What you knew or what problems you could solve from a decade ago may not be as relevant today. So, and now with change getting even faster, I think it's imperative on every leader to really reinvent themselves and demonstrate that for the people that they lead.
mm. And I think, the whole reinvention thing is the status quo today, isn't it? Like you say, need to constantly learn, unlearn, relearn, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And, in
I
your
mean,
book,
learning is the ultimate superpower now because there's just, on one hand, we have more access to information and
mm,
knowledge than
mm,
we've ever had in the past. So having a continuous learner's mindset is so critical to be able to, not only absorb
mm.
it, but more importantly, turn it into wisdom that serves others.
Yeah. And human learning and human wisdom is what is going to keep us relevant. To come back to your point about relevance, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if I look, in your book, you have the framework around clarity, courage, conviction. If you were writing it today, Nikki, in this AI-driven world,
Mhm.
would you add a fourth C? And if so, which one would that be?
Curiosity. I think curiosity is the most important thing for
Mm,
us in this because I think about what happens when you lean on AI so much
mm,
that you can um, get instant responses. We all now have access to infinite intelligence.
mm,
but it also makes all of us homogenous.
Yep,
If we all
totally.
have the
Yeah.
same access, then what makes us different? What will make us different and keep us different is our own innate curiosity of the things that how we see the world, our
Mm,
unique perspective on things,
mm,
our ability to ask questions that haven't been asked before. And yes, you can use AI as a thought partner to answer it, but
mm.
just like prompting has become a new,
Yep,
skill that is
yep.
expected, well, what is prompting? It's asking questions, and the better quality questions you ask, the better answers you get. So I think we'll see more of our innately human skills
Mm.
needing to shine because that is what makes us valuable.
Yeah. And as we move forward, we're already having to constantly bridge this gap between technology and human, but now
Mhm.
like AI technology and human expertise, often through a hybrid type of model, which brings me to your new venture, Flipwork. Can you tell us a little bit more about your new venture and your journey to get there? What made you pivot like that?
Yeah, it really was a natural evolution of the problems I'd solved throughout my career, which was always about helping people and organizations adapt to change.
Mm,
And while I'd done a lot of very complex transformation work and change management work, this time what was different was just the speed and scale of change
mm,
and the solutions that exist are frankly outdated. They're
mm.
obsolete. They're too slow. Change management needs to change too. And when you have the solutions that are designed for a pre-AI world, they don't work
Mm,
in the context of the challenges companies are facing today. And that's what led to the creation of Flipwork, which is
mm,
really how do we approach transformation and really turn it into a reinvention engine. So Flipwork is an agentic system that helps humans co-evolve with AI as a partner and makes them exponentially more capable. Because we think of it as people squared.
yeah.
If you're operating alone today
Mm,
without AI, you're going to get left behind because you're
yeah.
not able to bring as much value.
Mm,
On the other hand, if AI simply replaces you, well, that's a human tragedy. That's
yeah.
not a world we
Yeah.
should be aiming towards. So,
Mm,
how can we actually have humans and machines collaborate as co-working partners and
mm,
turn it into an exponentially capable human? And that's what People Squared is really about. And so we are on a mission to help, amplify the human, not replace the human, and
mm.
build a world where the best of humans come out and companies are equipped with exponentially capable people and therefore become exponentially more successful organizations.
I was going to say when you said people squared, I was thinking, oh, people 10x because
Yes,
because
yeah. It's like having a
that
clone of yourself. Imagine what you could do if you could clone yourself. But how do you do it in a way that doesn't replace you and make you irrelevant, but actually brings out the best in you
mm,
and allows you to create more value and more impact?
mm. And I mean, the idea is super. How did you come to this idea? Was it just a natural evolution for you, or was it a light bulb, or how did
Um,
you get there?
It was, to some degree, it was a natural evolution of the work that I'd been doing over the last couple of decades and seeing the challenges at organizations. But the specific idea of creating agentic human reinvention
Hmm.
really happened by seeing what I was observing in companies where they were either simply replacing the human and ending up with something that did not give them a competitive moat
Mm,
or situations where humans didn't know how to collaborate with machines. And my own experience in, well, how do I find the best parts of me and keep that
mm,
while
mm,
fully leveraging AI, in how I think, how I work, how I lead every aspect of this? What could that look like? And what I was able to create for myself just blew my mind. And so it became sort of a personal case study as a starting point and just really looking at how do you deploy that at scale within large organizations.
Because I mean, this whole thing of AI as a team member, and not just the technology. What do you see as the biggest challenge there, Nikki, in terms of adoption? Because you know, playing with it and finding that it works is great. Deploying it at scale in a large organization is something different. So, where do you see the main challenges there?
I see challenges at two levels, at the individual level
Mm,
and the organizational level. At the organizational level, the real challenge is not just slapping on the technology, but really taking it as an opportunity to
Hmm.
read the entire business.
Mm.
If you think back to the Blockbuster
Yeah.
Netflix case study, right? Blockbuster couldn't have become Netflix if it just simply implemented technology,
No.
but did not reimagine its core business.
Mm.
It could digitize the Blockbuster stores,
Mm.
but that wouldn't make it Netflix. Netflix did not emerge with Blockbuster plus technology. Netflix emerged by completely reimagining the movie business. And it continues to do so. And that's the opportunity for every business right now is don't just think using AI is enough. Really use it as an opportunity to reimagine your business at its core because
Mm.
competitive moats are disappearing faster than we can keep up. The fundamental operating cycles are
Mm.
getting faster.
Mm.
Org
Totally.
models really need to be reimagined. You can't operate in a pyramid model. You need to think of it as molecular, agile teams. So when everything about your business changes, slapping on technology is not going to solve that problem. You
Mm.
have to reinvent the business. And I think that's the challenge that I'm seeing with companies kind of doing a superficial implementation rather than really using it as a catalyst for true reinvention.
Mm.
At the individual level, the challenge is one of trust.
Mm.
And we're seeing that in global studies that are coming out where um, the excitement is there, but there's also fear of, well, the
Of
more I
course.
use it, am I
Mm.
really just making myself a target for being replaced.
Mm.
There's also an element of trust of the data itself and the privacy and
Mm. Of
the
course.
guardrails that you provide. We're seeing a lot of sort of rogue uses of technologies that are not within the enterprise tech stack. So there's certainly a risk from a data and privacy standpoint that companies have to watch out.
Mm.
Um, and it's trust of like there's so much AI slop and there's
Yeah, I
so
know. Yeah.
fake content out there that at our core, we have to really solve the challenge of trust.
Mm.
Who
Mm.
do you trust? Is that really, the what that person is saying, or is it, when you don't trust the effects of it, it prevents adoption from
Mm.
taking root.
Mm. And in terms of adoption, Nikki, do you think that, we hear a lot about AI upskilling
Mhm.
and we don't always know what's in there. So that's
Mhm.
become one of those buzzwords and boxes in organizations. But do you think that what you were just talking about, reinvention, the life cycle of business models and operating systems, the way the market is changing, do you think that should also be part of every single employee's upskilling in an AI world?
It really should be because what we are seeing deployed right now is a lot of AI training.
Yes.
Everybody wants some kind of AI training. Everyone wants to get certified in AI. But think about it. If you are a marketer,
Mm.
learning to vibe code AI does not make you a better marketer. It
Exactly.
simply gives you a useless skill that makes you think you're going to be relevant.
Mm.
Imagining marketing and your role in it with AI as your partner in that. Now that is reinvention. So really getting people to think differently about that as part of the, how you evolve in your career and your competency set,
Mm.
it's really critical to do.
Mm. And I think, you touched on it before that the unit of value in organizations is changing. It's getting smaller and smaller. So it's no longer a massive department, it's small teams of teams or even individuals in some cases. So if I take that, and I know you're a big advocate of community and the power of community, what does that mean? And what does community look like for you, Nikki, in a hybrid world, in the AI hybrid world? And how do we leverage it?
We started to see some of the impact on work communities through
Mm.
the COVID days, right?
Mm.
Where we moved into more and more remote work. And while there were many benefits of it, it also sort of fragmented our sense of communities in the workplace.
Mm.
now it's an opportunity for us to think radically different of what the word hybrid even means. Rather than hybrid being about, whether you're on-site or off-site or remote, hybrid needs to really contextualize humans and machines.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
what hybrid teams really are going to be about. Hybrid can also mean, who rather than teams being defined by employees with job titles and full-time workers, hybrid can also mean gig economy and people that
Mm,
are uh, teams that are put together based on skill set rather than
mm,
title. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more of that. And I think of it like Navy SEAL teams.
mm. Nice.
Instead of a giant army, the old
Mm,
management structures that were very pyramid driven, the boss at the top and every leadership level having the next level of hierarchy. And you basically have an army of soldiers that work based on direction
mm,
and are held accountable to performance based on that direction and the outcomes that happen with that. That requires flow of information to go in a certain direction.
mm,
It's also slow, and it's not something that is agile and adaptive to change. Now, if you break that model and really think of it like Navy SEAL teams, bringing the best specialists together, whether they're inside the company or from outside the company, whether they're humans or machines, and you pull together these, hybrid teams that operate with precision, with speed, and are able to adapt to any kind of change in the environment, that is what gives organizations real power.
mm,
That changes the nature of community and culture and management styles and leadership.
mm, mm. It also massively changes the cultural codes and the organizational design, doesn't it? Because as you were talking, I was thinking, yes, if somebody says to me, is this meeting hybrid? My answer would be either yes or no. There's some of us on site, some of us on a screen, or no, we're all on a screen, so it's not hybrid. But in fact, hybrid, human and machines takes it to a different level. And I think skills-based organizations is a little bit like agile. Organizations talk about it, but putting it in place on the edges of systems or putting it in place but not really looking at the organizational design just
Yeah.
won't work, will it, in the AI age?
It won't, and I think we'll start to see large organizations that are forward thinking that they will
Mm,
start to rethink or design the role of HR, for instance. What does the role of HR become when you're not just managing people?
mm,
Also
of course.
a technology that works alongside people.
Yeah.
How does that change? How does operating cycle change? Are we still going to operate with annual planning cycles, or are they fundamentally, outdated?
Mm,
So there's
mm,
so much that really comes down to speed and agility and adaptability and precision. That it's the same reason why we see startup cultures or startups
mm,
be so much more successful and grow so fast
mm,
because they have an innate advantage in how they're designed. But for Fortune 500 companies, I think this is a wake-up call to really start thinking about, ways that they can bring that kind of agility and adaptability
mm.
in their cultures as well.
And if I look at a pain point in a lot of organizations, it's keeping their employees emotionally engaged and for
Mhm.
it not to be too transactional. I see a huge risk, Nikki, with this of it becoming almost 100% transactional because it can.
Mhm.
Two questions. One, what are your thoughts around that? And two, what would your advice be as to guardrails to keep
Mhm.
your human employees emotionally engaged?
This is where it really comes down to the power of leadership. I
Mm,
think this is not just a moment, it truly is a movement for
mm,
leaders to reinvent how they lead and recognize the important role that they play
mm,
in this new reality.
mm,
The next decade is going to really challenge a lot of leadership principles we've lived by that may need to change now.
mm,
And you think about if your core job is to really identify what makes people uniquely valuable rather than productive machines.
mm.
The machine part of the productivity will get faster and faster and
Yeah.
better. But what do you do to extract the best out of the human being? How do you, bring out someone's zone of genius and nurture
Mm,
that and really amplify that part of them? That's what makes people feel valued,
mm,
feel like they belong, feel like there's a place for them to contribute in a meaningful way. And if your job becomes really about that rather than measuring productivity and performance and quarterly reviews and all of that, that's where leaders play such a critical role, and that's what would make people feel like this is not about a transactional job, but rather a reinvention experience for them.
mm. And it's interesting, isn't it? So the last organization I worked in the digital office, there was a Pepper, the robot, and she was programmed to answer our requests and stuff. But I remember speaking to her and somebody saying to me, "Sue, it's a robot." But she was answering my questions, and you can become quite attached. And actually, it makes me wonder around what hybrid teams are
Mhm.
going to look like and feel like. Which
And
brings,
some of the same principles will apply though,
mm,
right? Because even when we're working, on teams today, the question of trust, of
yeah,
communication, of expectation management, of accountability, of
mm,
alignment, all of those things will still matter.
mm,
It's just that we're interacting with, a machine instead of a person.
mm. And which brings me to the question of what's the biggest barrier that you see, Nikki, for leaders in the next 5 years? And how can we start preparing for it? Because this is going to move incredibly fast and we're going to move at a slower pace in terms of adapting and, changing.
The biggest barrier for leaders in the decade ahead, is really going to be about reinventing themselves, being willing to shed the playbook that got them there, and recognizing that, um, to navigate through this environment and to lead successfully,
Mm,
don't be an expert, be an explorer. If you lead with the expertise that got you there because you're top of your game, you've got
mm,
2, 3 decades of experience, and you have dogma built around that knowledge set and the things you believe. Change is happening so fast and in ways that have never happened before that it'll blind you to the reality of what you need to work through. But if you have the mindset of an explorer that embraces that uncertainty and the unknown, and is humble and curious and is willing to learn from all levels, and you go into